Several months ago, I made an announcement on my channel that I started investing with FreeTrade. I had my ISA account there. I showed my portfolio and I told about my plan of what I was going to do with that portfolio. And today I'm making a video about me closing this portfolio and stop investing through FreeTrade. So if you want to know the reasons of why I decided to take this decision, and also if you want to see my portfolio, the reasons of why I invested into certain companies and the results that I achieved, because my portfolio on FreeTrade was a dividend portfolio, then keep watching this video. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anastasia. On this channel I talk about investing, and especially investing for beginners. FreeTrade is one of the biggest and most famous investing apps in the UK, especially for beginner investors. It's popular among the beginner investors because of its simplicity. It is really a very simple app. You have only the basic information, but this information is enough for beginner investors to invest. And when I heard about FreeTrade, when I decided to register there, the idea was to create a dividend portfolio there and to open a second ISA there. This ISA was opened not under my name because my ISA is the main ISA and I have it on Vanguard, but I registered this second ISA under my husband's name. And if you've been following me for some time, then you know that I tried to open the second ISA with Trade212, but I never got to do that because they stopped accepting new clients, and that's why at that point in time I opted for FreeTrade. If you want to know the reasons of why I decided to invest through FreeTrade and all the advantages and disadvantages, the full review of this app that I made several months ago, you can watch this video here. And if you want to know the reasons of why I stopped investing through FreeTrade, then just watch this video to the very end. Okay, so first of all, let me tell you about my portfolio and the idea behind my portfolio on FreeTrade. The idea behind this portfolio was to create a dividend portfolio. So I was investing only into companies that are paying dividends, and I didn't make many updates on my portfolio there because it's pretty boring. I've just been manually buying month by month certain companies, same companies, and there weren't many companies, so there wasn't really much to report. That's why you've never heard about my portfolio on FreeTrade, but I was pretty consistent with it and I never forgot to add funds into the app. And generally speaking, I'm satisfied with the performance of the portfolio, but there are some disadvantages and some new circumstances that appeared in my life that made me take this decision. So let's look at my portfolio and my strategies that I've been following every month. So as I've already said, originally I opened an ISA account on FreeTrade and this was my dividend portfolio. But on top of that, I also had just a general account there, which was automatically created for me once I received a free share when someone registered on FreeTrade through my link. This link is still active, and if you want to use it, then I will add it to the description box below this video. So as a free share, I received a share of a company that was worth about £10. I never chose this company, but I didn't really care about this share because it was just given to me for free. Over this period of time, it just stayed more or less the same, and I didn't really make money, any money on that one share. Well, I also didn't really expect to make money there. With my ISA account, I made £12 on £500 that I had invested in there. You have to bear in mind that I didn't invest £500 straight away, but the idea was to invest £100 a month. So this is what happened. I had this portfolio for 5 months, almost half a year, and in this year I got £12 return on investment, which in percentage is not that bad. Of course, £12 is not a life-changing sum, but as you remember, and as you always should remember, in investing, it's not about the sums, it's not about the actual numbers, but it's about the percentages. So if we count percentage-wise, then actually this result is very much satisfying for me and I'm happy with it. Another thing that you have to know is I never wanted to trade. The idea was just to invest and keep money there, let the compound interest work for me, and maybe at some point in the future start using this dividend payment. And I really liked seeing the little dividends, even though they were really small. The sums of the dividends were really small because my investments were so small, but still it's always nice to see that you received this dividend. When you get the notification on your phone, it always cheered me up. And on FreeTrade, over the period of this 5 months, I've been investing constantly into only 2 companies. First was Coca-Cola and the second was McDonald's. And I'll explain to you why I chose these two companies. Coca-Cola, I mean, it's pretty clear. Everybody knows about Coca-Cola. Everybody knows that it's a very stable company. They pay not bad dividends, and they've been very, very consistent with their dividends. And they've also been very consistent with increasing their dividends. But the moment when I decided that I really wanted to hold some of the shares of Coca-Cola was the moment when I watched a very famous video which shows the speech of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is the most famous investor of the world. If you don't know his name, then you should definitely Google. So Warren Buffett is talking in the speech about value investing. And out of all the companies in the world, to explain what a value investing is, he chooses Coca-Cola. And he says that in one day, every day, Coca-Cola sends 1.8 billion bottles. And if the price of each bottle was to increase only by 1 cent, it would mean that it would increase the profits of Coca-Cola as the company by $18 million per day. And then he asks himself and the rest of the audience a question. Would you pay 1 cent more for a bottle of Coke? I would, and I think the majority of people would, because he thought, and I think it's pretty clear, that nobody will opt for a different drink just because the bottle of Coke would cost just 1 cent more. So to him, this company was undervalued, or at least there was a potential for this company to grow even further. And when I heard this story, it really made me think. It made everything very simple in my head all of a sudden. And if you want to watch the full episode from this video, I'm gonna link it in the description box below this video as well. So for you who are interested, please go there, because my explanation was in a very simple language, and of course I'm not Warren Buffett, but that's actually a very good thing about Warren Buffett, because he can explain difficult things with very simple language, and this is what I'm trying to do in my videos as well. Well, anyway, that moment I made a decision that I want to hold some more shares of Coca-Cola. As for McDonald's shares, I also have a pre-story. It's another huge company. I'm sure all of us have heard about McDonald's. This company also pays dividends, but it also has a very good potential to grow. And the thing about McDonald's that made me want to hold some shares of McDonald's was the story that happened many years before I even started investing. This was the moment when I was reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Again, it's very famous in investing world. I'm sure you've heard about it. People liked it, people disliked it. That's not what I wanted to talk about in this video. There is a moment in this book where the person asks a question. Can someone in the group make better burgers than burgers at McDonald's? And the answer for many people is yes. But then the question is why people keep on buying burgers at McDonald's, knowing that there are lots of other places where they can buy better burgers. And the answer to that was, according to the book, property and location. And according to the book, again, McDonald's as a company is not necessarily about the food, but it's about the location. They invest into locations, into property, and this is one of the points that made this company so successful. Burgers change, fashion in food changes, but the property will always be the same, and even if McDonald's had to go bankrupt because of the food that they are creating, although I understand that's pretty impossible, but let's assume that this is something that's going to happen, the property that McDonald's as a company owns is not going anywhere. And if you think about McDonald's and where they have their cafes, their restaurants, it's always in the city center. And that again made me think that McDonald's is a very good company to have a little part of for myself. And this is how I decided to invest into McDonald's. Both McDonald's and Coca-Cola, they are not very exciting investments, because it's pretty obvious that they are not going to shoot up all of a sudden, although of course I hope that that's what's gonna happen, but nothing's there to say me that this is the future of this stock. But my understanding of these two companies is that they are very stable and they've always been paying their dividends, and the price of the actual shares is also growing constantly, which made my investments pretty safe, or as safe as it gets. Of course there is always risk involved, and I understand that I could end up with less money than what I invested in, but over the course of these 5 months I've seen constant growth, and it's very different from my other investments, like for example investing into meme stocks or investing into cryptocurrency. Okay, and now let's talk about the reasons of why I decided to stop investing through FreeTrade. I think you could guess it pretty easily. The main reason behind this decision is the fee. With FreeTrade, if you want to open just a general account, it's completely free. But if you want to have an ISA account and have a £20,000 yearly allowance, then you have to pay a fee of £3 per month. £3 per month make it only £36 per year. But again, as I said at the beginning of the video, in investing you never think about numbers, but you think about percentages. And talking about average return on investment and how much you can expect over the course of the year, people tend to think about S&P 500. And the return on investment with S&P 500 historically is about 10% per year. So the calculations that I made before I started investing with FreeTrade was how much I had to invest into FreeTrade before I could receive more than £36 of interest rate over the course of the year. So in other words, how big a sum I had to invest to make £36 of fees, 10% of my investments. The answer is £3,600 I had to invest into my ISA over the course of the year, and that was definitely the plan, and I was going to invest even more, but then something else happened in my life. I invested a lot of money into property, and it changed my plans by quite a bit, because I realized that I will not be able to invest into 2 ISA accounts the sums that are large enough for me to be able to justify these fees of FreeTrade. And also over the course of 5 months, as you've seen from the screenshot where I showed my portfolio on FreeTrade, I made almost £13. But if you think about the fees over the course of 5 months, I paid £15 worth of fees. So as you see, if I didn't receive this free share that was given to me by FreeTrade, it would mean that I have actually lost money on FreeTrade and didn't make anything. That's why fees can be really tricky, and you have to be very careful with them. They do accumulate, and even though you think that £3 is nothing over the course of the month, why would you still go and open an ISA account in an app where you have to pay the 3 fees, where you have other options, you have other apps where you can invest into individual stocks and shares and not pay anything? I have found an alternative for FreeTrade, and that's not Trade 212, that's another app where ISA account is completely free, and it's very similar. It's also very good for beginner investors, and I'm going to talk about this app in one of my next videos. If you don't want to miss this video out, then consider subscribing to my channel. But that's basically my plan for the future. I've closed already my account on FreeTrade, and now I'm gonna open another account on a different app, and I'm gonna open an ISA account there and see how it goes. But my portfolio on the other app is going to look completely different, because another conclusion I came to is that there is no reason really for me to have a dividend portfolio just yet. I'm gonna make a separate video about that as well, and if you want to watch that video, then you should definitely subscribe to my channel. Okay guys, thanks so much for your time and attention today. Let me know in the comments what you think about my decision. Was it good? Was it bad? What did you think about the results I achieved on FreeTrade? And also tell me if you invest through FreeTrade or not. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. I hope to see you in my next videos very soon. Bye bye.